Andy Phillips, and today I have my helper with me. This is Chloe. Her channel is called Chloe the Rockstar. You want to tell them something?
And hopefully you subscribe to my channel. My name is Chloe the Rockstar, and hopefully you like my channels. Bye.
And I'll have her name of her channel across the bottom. If you want to check it out, you can subscribe to her channel as well. She helps me sometimes on my car projects. Today I'm going to show you how to replace the ignition distributor on a Pontiac Fiero GT. Let's get started. Here's the ignition distributor that we're going to be changing out. Pretty much that consists of the distributor cap. You have the distributor rotor, which is under the cap. You have your ignition module. You have your pickup coil, which is in there as well. You have the O-ring. You have the distributor gear that goes down into the actual the crankcase part of the vehicle, which causes it to rotate. Then on this end here, you have the like kind of like a hex type pattern in there, which is where the oil pump shaft goes into, and when this turns, it rotates that as well to pump the oil. So this is all that ignition distributor, which is this entire assembly, which is what we're going to be changing out. So let's go ahead and take a look at the vehicle, and I'll show you how to go ahead and remove that. And then you need to be very careful also with the timing, because when you're taking this out, you can alter the timing of the vehicle, and then you'd have to reset the timing, which we could do that, but I'm going to try to avoid that by putting it in the same way we're taking the old one out. Here's the distributor cap on the vehicle, and these are all of the spark plug wires and the ignition coil wire. We're going to go ahead and remove those, and we'll also take the cap off, and then we'll be back. Now, for if you need assistance on the proper firing order, removing the distributor cap, distributor rotor, things like that, I'm going to have links across the top, and you can follow those, and that'll show how to do all those, because I'm going to kind of fast forward through that now to get right to the actual distributor, the ignition distributor replacement. Went ahead and I took the distributor cap off. That's your distributor rotor. But to make it easier, there's actually one bolt under here that holds that in place that we have to remove, but these lines are in the way. It's kind of on a weird angle. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this shield here. You have I believe it's 3 or 4 of these 7mm little bolts holding it on, so I'm going to go ahead and get those off, so that way we can get this off and we'll be able to slide right into there to get that bolt to pull the ignition distributor out. Here's a better shot here. You have one 7mm here, and then there's another one. You'll see it. It is right there. So I believe it's actually only 2. I thought it might have been 3, but as I'm going over it, it looks like it's only 2. And then that'll give us access, and you'll be able to see the bolt is right down there. You'll see it. The ignition coil also needs to be removed. To do that, you're going to have to remove, there's actually 2 bolts on here. They are 13mm bolts. There's one here, and then there's one right back there. Take those off, and then we'll undo these 2 connections here. So we'll pop that one off. Be gentle with those. Take the other one off as well here in the back, and we will tuck those off to the side. Get those out of there. I've already removed the 1 bolt here, so now we're going to take off the other 13mm there in the back, and then we'll be able to lift that out. And that is the ignition coil. As you can see, this thing's filthy. We're going to replace that. And you'll see right back here, that's the other 7mm bolt. We went ahead and removed this one here, so that way we can get this shield out of the way. So we'll go ahead and remove that now. All right, get that out of there. And now you can see we have access. There's that bolt down there that holds the distributor in place. We can remove that, and then we can get ready to slide all of that out. We have these 2 connections here. They need to be removed, so we'll go ahead and pop that off. Okay, tuck that off to the side, and now we'll remove this one here. Okay, here's the ignition module. There's the distributor rotor, and as you come down, there is the bolt that holds it down. That is a 15mm. So you'll just need a 15mm socket to remove that, and then you can slide that out. Now, before you remove that, you need to make sure that you've got this angle down where of the actual ignition distributor where the
ignition module is this angle here needs to be exact, so we're going to go ahead and mark that. And then you also need to mark the actual point here of the rotor and make sure that it's right on point, because when we put the new one in, it needs to fit in at this exact angle here and here, so that way we have the timing exactly how it needs to be. Otherwise, you're going to have to reset the timing, and I'm trying to avoid doing that. So we're going to go ahead and mark exactly the angles that these need to go back in at, so that way the timing will be right on point. What I did is I used a gold marker, and I marked the 2 points of the actual distributor base, and then I marked also the point where the rotor is pointing. So if you come up here at a top view, you'll be able to see right there where the points all line up. So you got it right here, and then we have this point coming here. So when we put the new one in, we need to make sure that those points all match up so the timing is accurate. Getting ready to remove the 15 millimeter bolt from the bracket that holds the ignition distributor in place. What I find is the best is to use a ratchet with a flex head, so that way you can angle it in order to be able to clear that, because you can see here it's kind of dropped down in there. So it's a little hard to get in there unless you want to take off more of these shields, which I'm not going to. So I'm just going to use this here with a flex head on an angle, so that way we can go ahead and undo that bolt. Here's the bolt. There's the plate. Let's go in here. Okay, you can see it's starting to come out now, right there. But you need to rotate it because the gear is on an angle. So what you're going to have to do is up here on the top, you want to look, because you can see now that we're off alignment from the markings that we did, but we're having to rotate it in order to pull it out. So you want to see exactly the angle that it's coming out on, because when we put the new one in, you'll need to put it in at that same angle and then let it slide in to the track in order to match up with the alignment. So we're going to go ahead and pull that out now, and then we'll go ahead and put the new one in. And here it comes. Now there's a very tight squeeze right here because of these lines right here. So what I did is I went ahead and I loosened the ignition module so I can pull that out, because what's happening is that's hitting the lines. So now with that loose, we can slide that out of the way and make room now for this. You can see down here, make room for it to come on out. So now we're just going to go ahead and give it a nice little pull, and that will raise that out of there. Okay. And you can see here with them out of the way, now that can come straight up, and we can get that out. Okay. And we went ahead and unplugged the ignition module. So now that comes straight out. And there's a shot looking right down into where the ignition distributor goes in and where the gear connects in. Straight down in there. Here's the old ignition distributor, and here's the new one. You can definitely see the difference. And on this one here, you'll see right here, this was loose. This particular distributor was actually squealing a lot due to the bearings, which is the reason we took it out. This one here is nice and tight. Everything is all nice and good. You can also see here on the coil. This coil is in very bad shape. This one's all nice and enclosed. Everything looks good on that. So let's go ahead and get ready to put the new one in. Getting ready to put the new ignition distributor in, I went ahead and I removed the ignition module. Didn't unplug it, just
unscrewed it so that way we have the flexibility to work it in. And then we're going to go ahead now and
Gently get it into position. And we need to make sure that this goes in the exact way that the other one came out, so we don't mess up the timing. So work that in. There it goes. Gently working it in. We have the ignition module here. We need to make sure that we get that in place as well. Work that in slowly. There we go. Let it slide in. It'll catch the teeth. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and connect the module, and then we just need to line up this base plate as well as the rotor, match them up with the gold marks that we made. Make sure everything lines up good to keep the timing in order, and we should be ready to wrap this up. Okay, we have it now, the gear connected. As we drop it in, you'll see there goes the rotor, lining right up here with that mark that we did. Nice and tight. That's good. Everything looks good down there. All we need to do now is just make sure that these corners are where they need to be with the markings that we did. They're almost right on point. We'll turn them just a little bit. There we go. And I think we're good to go. We went ahead and put the ignition module back in. That's all screwed in. So now we're ready to add the plate here at the bottom, bolt it back down and secure it, and then we can then go ahead and put the distributor cap back on and go ahead and put all the spark plug wires back on as well. The plate is in place. We have the bolt hand screwed in there, so I'm going to go ahead and get the ratchet, tighten it all the way to lock that down, and then we can then go ahead and connect the all of the harnesses back to the ignition module. And then we'll also go ahead and put the ignition coil back in and get all that connected. Okay. Okay, the ignition coil needs to be put back in. So we need to go ahead and tighten the two 13mm bolts, one on this side and then one right back here on this side. Let's go ahead and tighten those. And that way we can then go ahead and connect all of the harnesses back up. Okay, you can see there, both of these are connected in right there. So all the attachments for the harnesses are all put in place, connected to the ignition coil. So now all we have to do is put the distributor cap on and then connect all the cables.
So there's a different way to make two. And it's this way.
And Chloe is actually helping me number the firing order on the distributor cap.
Yes, I am.
So that way we know exactly how the wires go if we ever need to change them out again.
And I am just going to do a 3 right here because we did it wrong a little bit. But there's a different way to do 3, and it looks like a 7 first. Then you need to do a hoop. I'll show you.
Okay. So she's going to go ahead and number those.
I kind of like hit that little thing, but it's okay. It still looks like a 3.
Okay, let's go ahead and get the numbers on there.
4.
Okay, Chloe, thank you for helping us today. Is there anything you want to say before you're done?
Hopefully you subscribe to my channel, and we're going outside to go east on. Bye.
Cool. Thank you.
I like to use some of this Permalock or Loctite. You can also get, this particular is JB Weld. I like to put that on the screws to the distributor cap to make sure that it doesn't get loose with the vibrations. Goes ahead and it makes the connection of the screws or bolts. You can use this one very tight. Okay, tightening on the heat shield there. There we go. Next, we're going to put the distributor cap on. My lovely assistant, Chloe, had helped number them in the firing order. So you have your first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth going around. Go ahead and put the distributor cap on. Make sure you line it up good. You want to make sure it's a perfect fit before you tighten it so you don't damage anything. So let's go ahead and... There we go. Let's tighten those bolts and we are done.
Be careful not to over tighten it because you can crack the cap. So there we go. And there we have it. Distributor cap is on. The ignition distributor is in place. Everything is reconnected and good to go. That pretty much wraps it up. At this point, you would then go ahead and put the spark plug wires, connect also the ignition coil to the cap. To see how to do that, please check out my video on how to set the firing order on the cables when changing out the spark plug cables via the link below. I'm sorry, via the link above. And that pretty much wraps it up.
Well, that wraps up this video on how to change out the ignition distributor on a Pontiac Fiero GT. I hope this video helped you out. Please send any questions, any comments. I would love to hear from you. As always, thank you for the support, and I appreciate that. Please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you next time.